some legends didn't just stay loyal, they stayed until the club, the fans and their own legacy started to suffer. In this video we're ranking 7 superstars who should have left their club at the peak instead of the slide. Starting at number 7, Yaya Touré. When Yaya Touré joined Manchester City in 2010, he was 27 and right in his prime. Within a year, he'd already written himself into club history, scoring the winner against United in the FA Cup semi-final and the only goal in the final against Stoke. For a while, every big City moment seemed to have Yaya charging through midfield at the heart of it. By 2013-14, he hit that ridiculous peak season. 20 league goals from midfield, free kicks, long shots, penalties and title-deciding performances. That was the moment he could have walked away as one of the most complete midfielders on the planet, with every big club in Europe ready to build around him. Instead, we got the birthday cake era. In 2014, turning 31, his agent publicly complained that City didn't show him enough respect around his birthday, claiming the club had treated him poorly. It sounded petty, but it stuck. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about his dominance on the pitch, it was about drama off it. Then Pep Guardiola arrived in 2016. Yaya was left out of the Champions League squad, his agent went to war in the media again, and Pep basically froze him until there was a public apology. Yaya fought his way back, had a few big games, but the aura was gone. If he'd left around 2014 or 2015, his last image at City is of a 30-year-old monster dragging them to titles. Instead, the story ends with arguments, exile and a slow fade from the starting 11. Sliding into number 6, Mesut Özil. When Özil arrived at Arsenal in 2013, he was 24 and instantly changed the club's whole vibe. This was a Real Madrid number 10 in North London, fresh off feeding Cristiano Ronaldo, now dropping passes through defensive lines for fun. In those first few seasons, especially around 2015-16 when he was 27, he was putting up double-digit assists, running games and making the Emirates gasp almost every week. That was his moment to move while still at the top of his powers. Instead, he signed the huge new contract and became the face of every debate. As the league shifted towards pressing and constant intensity, Özil became the lightning rod. Was he lazy or just being asked to do the wrong job? Under different managers, he was in one week, out the next, sometimes left on the bench for big away games because coaches didn't trust him without the ball. By the time Mikel Arteta took over, the story was no longer about the magician with the killer through ball. It was about wages, effort, and then complete exclusion from the squad. A player who once dictated Champions League nights was sitting at home on match days. If Özil had left Arsenal around 2017 at 28, he probably walks into Serie A or back to La Liga as the star of a system built around his left foot. Instead, he stayed until the conversation shifted from world-class creator to problem contract. Number 5, Gareth Bale. When Gareth Bale joined Real Madrid in 2013, he was 24, the world's most expensive player and built for big moments. In his first seasons, he delivered the Copa del Rey sprint past Bartra, then the Champions League final header against Atletico on the biggest possible stage. By the time he was 28, he'd scored in multiple finals and had a trophy cabinet most players can only dream of. That 2018 Champions League final in Kiev was the exit door with a bow on it. He came off the bench, scored that overhead kick against Liverpool, added another from distance and dragged Madrid to a third straight European title. After the game, he said he needed regular football and would think about his future. That should have been it. Instead, he stayed. The injuries piled up, his minutes dropped, and the relationship with the Bernabeu turned toxic. Fans booed, the media circled, and the Wales Golf Madrid flag at 30 turned him from legend into running joke. By the time he went back to Spurs and then to MLS, people talked more about wages and golf than finals. If he'd left right after Kiev, his Madrid story ends at 28 as the big game killer who walked out on top, not the superstar frozen on the bench while everyone debates whether he still cares. Coming in at number 4, Iker Casillas. Casillas grew up inside Real Madrid. He debuted at 18, won the Champions League at 19, and by his late 20s, he was Spain's World Cup winning captain and one of the best keepers on the planet. Around 2010 to 2012, his status was untouchable. San Iker, homegrown, captain for club and country. That's when he could have left on his own terms and still walked into any top club in Europe as an automatic starter. Instead, the Mourinho years turned ugly. At 31, he was suddenly accused of being a mole in the dressing room, dropped for league games and publicly questioned in a way club legends rarely are. The injury in late 2012 gave Mourinho an excuse to back a different keeper, and Casillas went from symbol of stability to symbol of a power struggle. He stayed, fought back, and under Ancelotti he lifted La Decima, but the relationship with parts of the fan base and the board never fully recovered. By the time he actually left Madrid at 34, the farewell was awkward and emotional. A short, lonely press conference, tears, and a feeling that the club had mishandled one of its greatest servants. If he'd gone when the war with Mourinho first exploded, he leaves as the undisputed #1 in the world, not a legend who had to watch his own club debate whether he was a problem. Now at number 3, Francesco Totti. The king who never tested his crown, Totti grew up at Roma, debuted as a teenager, and by the early 2000s he was one of the best attacking players in the world. Around 2001 to 2004, when he was 25 to 28, big clubs like Real Madrid were circling, and he was putting up goals, assists, and carrying a team that didn't have the same budget as the European giants. That was his window to leave while still in his absolute prime. Instead, he stayed loyal, beautiful for Roma, but brutal for his trophy cabinet. Roma won the Scudetto in 2001, but after that it was mostly near misses and cup runs, while other stars collected Champions Leagues and league titles abroad. As he moved into his 30s, the story shifted from top 3 in the world in his position to club legend fighting for minutes. By the time he was 38, 39 or 40, he was coming off the bench, arguing over game time and living through public tension with managers who didn't know how to say no to a legend. If he'd done 3 or 4 seasons at another super club and then returned to Roma, he'd keep the one club love and add serious European medals. In second place, Wayne Rooney. Rooney joined Manchester United at 18 and exploded straight away. By his mid-20s, he was one of the best forwards in the world. 26 league goals in 2009-10 at 24. That overhead kick against City at 25. Constant work rate, constant chaos. Around 2011 to 2013, he'd already won multiple league titles and a Champions League and still had the legs to bully any defense. That was his perfect exit window. Instead, he stayed through contract standoffs, tactical reshuffles, and the post-Ferguson transition. As he hit his 30s, he kept dropping deeper to make up for lost pace, eventually playing as a midfielder just to stay in the team. The numbers stayed decent, but the aura changed. By the time he actually left United at 31, people remembered the tired version more than the explosive one. If he'd gone earlier to another giant as a pure forward, he could have had a second peak somewhere else, instead of slowly sliding down the pitch and becoming a utility player at his own club. Finally, at number 1, Mohamed Salah. Salah joined Liverpool in 2017 at 25 and instantly went crazy. 32 league goals in his first season, 3 golden boots, a Premier League, a Champions League, every scoring record at Anfield falling one by one. By the time he was 31, he'd hit double figures in the league every year, gone past 200 goals for the club in all competitions, and was still dropping 19 to 20 league goals a season while also creating chances. This wasn't a washed version. This was an aging star still producing elite numbers. That's exactly why last summer was his ideal exit. He was still Liverpool's main weapon, still feared, still the first name on the team sheet. The Saudi offers were huge, but even ignoring that, there was logic in walking away then. New manager and new system on the horizon, rebuilding squad, intense schedule in the Premier League. Staying meant gambling that his body and output would hold up while everything around him changed. But the risk is clear. If his numbers dip, he becomes the big contract who's not the same anymore. Every bad touch, every missed chance suddenly becomes a debate about whether Liverpool held on too long. We've seen this film already with other names on this list. If Salah had left last summer, he walks out at 31 as the king of Anfield, still at the top, still decisive, with no visible decline. Staying could still work out, but it's a tightrope. One bad season and people rewrite his final chapter from left a god to stayed until the magic faded. That's our list of 7 legends who should have walked away while they were still killing it. Tell me in the comments who you think stayed too long at their club or who you'd remove from this list. Hit like if you enjoyed it, subscribe to Goal 90 and check out the next video on your screen for more about football's biggest names and moments.